Yeah, thank you, sir. So a very good afternoon to all of you present here. So one and all present here, very good afternoon. So first of all, I would like to thank Mahapatra sir for taking this initiative on behalf of Department of Energy for conducting this series of talk and especially for asking me to deliver this talk and allowing me to present myself. So thank you, sir. So I would like to just introduce myself, even though sir has said. So myself, Washima Tasneem, and I am presently working in Vellore Institute of Technology, Vellore, in the School of Electrical Engineering, in the Department of Energy and Power Electronics. So these are my contact details. So coming to the contents of the presentation for today. So starting with the automatic generation control, the introduction regarding the automatic generation control. I am not sure how many of us present here today may be familiar with this topic, because if anyone is from electrical background, they may be familiar with this topic. But I will like to just give a brief introduction regarding the automatic generation control also. So, okay, sorry. Then coming to the impact of pan-India light-off event. And if you are familiar with this, it is also called as the 9 p.m. 9-minute event. And how it has impacted the Indian power system, that I will be just highlighting a little bit today. Then followed by the AGC implementation in India. Because even though we might be thinking that this AGC is an age-old phenomena, but actually it is not being implemented since long in our country. So I will be just highlighting a little bit regarding that also. Then coming to the focus areas on AGC research. So what are the different areas we need to highlight upon, or I have been highlighting in my research. So I will be presenting that also. Then followed by a sector-wise survey also I will be just showing on the different areas in this AGC. And finally, among all these areas, since we are now in a forum where we are where we are related to energy, so I will be choosing one of those research areas as energy storage devices. So, and will be giving a slight overview regarding this area also. Then followed by the implementation of AGC. So AGC, how they are implemented under the conventional environment as well as the deregulated environment. So what is conventional environment? What is deregulated environment? We'll come to know if we are not aware of in the coming slides. And then finally, the incorporation of the different communication technologies. So regarding that also, I will be speaking a little bit. So communication technology which enables smart operation. So coming to this AGC. So AGC, as the term stands for, you can see here, automatic generation control. So automatic generation control of the power system, by the name itself, we know that it is like controlling the generation automatically with the change in demand. So we know that our electrical power system, it consists of different entities, right? And these entities are connected or interconnected together to form large and complex systems. So they are interconnected together, and this is capable of generating, then transmitting, and also distributing the electrical energy over large areas. And in this power system, the generations, we can see, we know that the generations from here till the distribution to the loads. So this generation and means in between the generations and the loads, there exists the transmission and the distribution system. So the transmission and the distribution system, right? Now, exchange of the power among these utilities, it is like carried over the tie lines, and in order to achieve proper interconnected operation among the different utilities or the entire power system, it is like we need to maintain the frequency, the voltage profile, and the load flow configurations at their nominal values or the schedule values. And this is attained by controlling the real as well as the reactive powers. So this is very much essential. Now the voltage and the frequency, as I have told, that it needs to be maintained at their rated values while supplying energy to the consumers. So if there is a mismatch between this demand and the supply, so if there is a mismatch between this demand and the supply, then the system will experience certain deviations in the frequency. That means if the frequency it rise or if it drops, so then if I say if the frequency decreases, then the generation needs to be increased, or vice versa. If the frequency increases, the generation needs to be decreased. So this can be interpreted in a manner such that as the demand will change, we need to change the generation also. So taking this into account, the concept of AGC is actually the concept of AGC actually came. And as the system voltage and the frequency will deviate from the initial or the nominal values, then what will happen? It will cause some changes or some unpredictable changes which are not predictable or which are not desired. So in order to get back to the normal state, we require this automatic control. So an automatic control system will be assigned to detect this very changes, those unpredictable changes. To detect them, an automatic control mechanism is being designed, and it will initiate a set of counter control actions. So as a result of which, this can be eliminated or so as to nullify the deviations. So this is actually called the automatic generation control. So if we say that what is the major role in of this automatic generation control, so we can just say it in two simple ways. That is, first one is to maintain the system frequency at their nominal values, and then the tie line power flows at their schedule values. And these two things, it should be applicable both under normal circumstances also, as well as if there are some disturbances or perturbations. So in both the situations, this too must be maintained. And this is all about the automatic generation control. So now, talking about this automatic generation control, in the content slide, I have talked about conventional environment or and the deregulated environment. I have just spoken or I have just told about that. So what are this? Actually, the structure of the electrical utilities, it has changed drastically. And previously, as we know, it was like the vertical integrated utility. And this change has been taken since the FERC, it has issued the NOPR, and since then the structure has changed and a competitive sort of market has been evolved. And when we talk about competitive market, first we need to understand what was the previous case, right? That means the traditional structure. So when we say about the traditional structure, so we know that generation followed by transmission followed by distribution. So it was in a vertical fashion. So it is also called as the vertical integrated utility. And in this structure, always monopoly prevail. Whereas the present scenario which we are in, so it is adopting the competitive market. And when I say competitive market, it is like the deregulated market. So in deregulated market, as we can see, it is also known as the horizontal integrated utility. So this was the vertical integrated utility, then the horizontal integrated utility. So why it is called horizontally? That means there will be several players. And when I say players, it is nothing but the GenCos or the generating companies, then the transcos, and not only one but many, right? So transcos or the transmission companies or discos, or also known as discoms, which is the distribution companies. So all of them are the different players and they are present. And apart from them, there is another entity, which is the ICA, or Independent Contract Administrator, or also known as ISO, Independent System Operator. So nowadays it is ISO is a much familiar term. So this ISO, or the Independent System Operator, is the one, and it has a major role to play. What it is, we will see. So when we talk about the different utilities or the different players, so how this system or the structure got converted from this vertical to the horizontal utility structure, it is like from one, many players existed, and it is no such rule that one particular player can interact with only one particular to another player. So the GenCos which are there, so in a restructured environment, so it is also called as restructured environment or deregulated environment. So in this environment, what happens, all the GenCos, they are not bound that they should interact with anyone from their own control area. So it is not strictly maintained that. So they can interact with anyone from their own control area as well as from other control area. Similarly, it goes for the discos or the discoms also. So the discos are also independent of choosing the GenCos either from their own control area or from the other. And the main thing, which is the ISO or the Independent System Operator. So what is its work? It's like it supervises the entire power system and the power transactions that are being taking place among the players, and it is the main regulatory body. So that's why this ISO has a very important role to play. And one entity or the system operator which we know it is the POSOCO, right? So POSOCO, it is a wholly owned subsidiary of PGCIL only, and it is a recently formed body only, we can say, because though till 2010 it was just the aim was conceptualized only, but from 2010 onwards they formed the body, and from 2017 onwards they were made as an independent central PSU, and it came directly under the Union Power Ministry. So this POSOCO actually, it operates the different load dispatch centers, or LDC, or whether we say it is the NLDC or the 5 regional dispatch centers, or the SLDCs, which are 33 in number, right? So the POSOCO is a main regulatory body in our system. Now, this was about the AGC. Now, coming to an event which has impact on our power system, and we can say that it is like talking about AGC in a practical scenario. So, and all of us has witnessed this event. because it was a recent one that has taken place during this pandemic only, which is also called as the so Pan India Light Off event, or also known as the 9 p.m. 9-minute event, and many hashtags also came regarding this during those times. So this Pan India Light Off event was an initiative by Honorable PM Modi. Then during this, what happened? Before this, one previous event has also taken place regarding this pandemic or the coronavirus, which was people were asked to come out to their balconies and just as a gesture of saluting the frontline workers. So they were asked to just make some sounds or with their plates or any objects. So they were asked to do so, and this was supported by whole of India in a very great manner. And due to that, the second event that succeeded that it was this Pan India Light Off event. So in this, what happened? It was told that on 5th April, which was a Sunday, we were asked to just switch off our lights and then lit candles, and this was only for a small duration of time. Now, this scenario, even though it seemed to be a very short term event, but it has a very much impact on the power system. And what was the impact was like the most challenging factor was to manage this event and the sharp rate of this changing of this demand and the supply, and that was throughout the entire country, and it was not only in a small area. So this was very much challenging for the power sector people also. So in this, what happened? Several set of events took place. So the appeal was made on 3rd, and then after that, interactions among the different SLDCs and the RLDCs, NLDCs and the generating stations were organized, and then only it was said that one sudden full meeting will be organized on the next day itself, that is on 4th of April. And mainly it was like proper scheduling of the loads and then reducing the generations. And with this, the major sectors that were impacted, it was the the high ramping resources, which we can call as the hydro or the gas turbines. So the high ramping resources or this were asked to be coordinated properly in order to achieve maximum flexibility of this event, and so that the event goes on in a smooth manner. So after the meeting, it was it was thought that the hydro was the main plant which needs to be controlled, and after that the subsequent energy sources, whether it is the gas or the thermal generation, will be controlled. So we can see here that meeting with all the interstate hydro generating stations to discuss the strategy, and mock exercise by the hydro plants to access the ramping capacity. And on 4th this happened, and since 5th was the event, then on 5th finally it was told that the transmission licenses were also interacted for the reactive power support. And then at 1800 hours itself, the SCED was stopped for the entire day to maintain the margin. And then followed by this, the hydro, it was like the gas stations. So the gas stations which were under reserve shutdown were brought into working condition in order to maintain that. Then the thermal generations were also changed. So backing down the thermal generations to near technical minimum level, which was earlier ramped to meet the evening peak load. So the thermal generations which were done for meeting the peak demands, so they were just brought back, or after this gas, the thermal was the next thing. Then as a result of this, the final thing that has occurred, it was the sharp reduction in the all India demand, and it started from, you can see, this many megawatts at 2045 hours to this much. So it has reduced to a great extent, and this event was conducted successfully. So in fact, a detailed report was also laid up by POSOCO. So this also can be gone through if anyone is interested. So after this, the next thing to discuss, it's like, as I told, AGC, as we have implemented it in India also, but it is not quite long before since it has been implemented. So the main, the conception of this AGC in Indian scenario, so it is, it was just a dream ever since on 2018, this was finally set up. So in 2018 only, this AGC was at first, the pilot project was laid off. But as we reached 2018, before it, several events took place. How that idea got conceptualized and how it was implemented. So this implementation of implementation of AGC in this India. So the commercial operation, it started from 2018, but the main conception started since 2015 itself. So on 13th October, the roadmap was designed for this AGC, and the main idea for the pilot project of this AGC was conceptualized by CERC, and since then several meetings were held, and an order was also put forward directing that the POSOCO need to submit a detailed map regarding this. So this was started in 13th October 2015, followed by in 2016, it was like many sessions were held. First, the major important one was the FOL meeting. So in this FOL meeting, means the main agendas were laid down, and in the FOL meeting itself, this was one of the main agenda which was kept. Now, regarding this, after the FOL meeting, it was like several visits were also made. So in the visits started from like the POSOCO and the Siemens, they started to visit the main station where this was to set up, that is the NTPC Dadri. And then this NTPC, it invited bids on October 2016. So bids were invited, and finally the bids were open on 30th of November, and it was found that the companies which were related or associated in the bids for this one. It was like different vendors like Siemens, ABB, and then Alstom. All of them has just approached, but for this execution of this pilot project. But the bid was issued to Siemens only, and this was in 2017. So on 2017, Siemens was given this, and finally the work for this project started, and a contract price of 8.87 million was laid for this one. Finally, the Dadri project was commercialized on 2018, 4th of Jan, and after that, POSOCO with GTZ Rise, it has again because this was in the northern region, so for the southern region also they have proposed, and this was comprising of the hydro, a solar, and a wind power plant. So this was in 2019. So it is not quite old, but very recently this AGC has been implemented in India. Now, in AGC, the different areas or the different research areas which I have concentrated, I have segregated them in several sections actually. So based on the system, then the controllers, or the different optimization techniques which can be incorporated. So based upon that, different researches has been conducted in AGC, and the work in AGC is not new. Though in India it is a new one, but it is a very old phenomenon. So we generally know that the conventional systems, it is basically the thermal systems, and after the thermal systems, whether the work of AGC actually started with the thermal systems, and in thermal systems also it started with a single area system at first. So many authors have studied AGC for single area thermal systems, then it got upgraded to multi-area. So multi-area means 2 areas, 3 areas, then 5 area AGC was also studied. After that, the thing came of including other sources of energy, which is the hydro, diesel, gas. So along with the thermal, other sources were also extended. And with this also, several works were carried out over the years. But recently, due to this emerging technology, which is also called as considered as a green technologies, which is the renewable sources. So incorporation of this renewable sources is also now very much evident in AGC, and work has started with incorporating the several renewable sources, whether it may be like wind, solar. So these are the two prominent sources, in fact. But for me, actually, I started with the geothermal energy. So geothermal energy, it is the working of the geothermal power plant is similar to the thermal systems only. Only the mechanism in which the heat is extracted, that is the difference, that lays the difference. And for this, I have designed the mathematical model for the geothermal power plant. And for other systems also, models, the systems are linearized, and then mathematical modeling is being done, and finally they are incorporated. So myself, I have just linearized the model for geothermal power plant, and I have used that as one of the sources in my work. So when I'll be showing my works, it will be visible. So this was the system with the different sources. So this is one area where we can work. So other sources are also there, like small hydro. So many sources can be incorporated. Then next is like the next area we can say about the controllers. So controllers, it is like in order to maintain the control of this frequency in a much smoother manner, robust secondary controllers are required. So that is the need of these controllers in this AGC. And previously it was the classical controllers. So by classical controllers, it is the I, PI, PID. So the classical controllers were there. After that, several other controllers came, the fuzzy controllers or the degree of freedom controllers are also used. So many researchers have worked on this, considering one. And then cascading of the controllers were also there. And then the fractional order controllers. So the fractional order controllers were also very much prominent. So for my study, actually, I started with the combining of the both the technologies of the cascading of the controllers and the fractional order controllers. So my research is, up till now, it is mainly focused regarding the fractional order cascade controllers. So combining the two, it showed that it is a very much robust controller or secondary controller. So this is one aspect which can be talked about or research can be done. Then the optimization techniques. So in optimization techniques, different or several optimization techniques are required. And we know this optimization technique, why it is required, because it is very much necessary to set the controller gains. So this controller gains, we need to set this at a optimum value in order to get for suitable control of this frequency. We need to set the values of this controller gains at some optimal values, and this can be done with the help of optimization techniques. So several optimization techniques have been used till now, and it is still people are using. So the basic ones, the genetic algorithm or the PSO, then the Firefly algorithm or the cuckoo search. So these are the different algorithms. One of them is the sine cosine algorithm. So sine cosine algorithm is also one optimization technique, and like the others, we can use this one also. And not only this, or not only what I have mentioned, there are other optimization techniques. And if we go through the literatures, we can see like the clubbing of the two technologies for the cascading and the fractional order controllers. Here also optimization techniques have been clubbed together. Then the next area is the energy storage devices. So energy storage devices, as I have told, I will be discussing in will be giving one overview. So now this why this energy storage devices we require, the power output of the renewable, since we are using now renewable systems, so the power output of the renewable energies are very much unpredictable, and it is like fluctuating also. So in order to maintain a reliable supply, it is very much necessary that we go for the energy storage. And this energy storage can be integrated with the power system, and so that we can witness uninterrupted supply. And the different energy storage that are present: battery energy storage, flywheel energy storage, capacitive energy storage, then supercapacitors are also there, then superconducting magnetic energy storage, SMES, it is also called as SMES, then ultra capacitors, and the redox flow batteries. So researchers have worked on different energy storage. Either they have compared or used one energy storage, or they have again clubbed two energy storage. For my work, what I had done, I had taken the data for all, and I have modeled some of the systems, and I have made a comparative analysis of all the energy storages present, and out of them, which can be the best possible one for the particular system which I have considered. That was one of my work. Then other than this, other than the energy storage, this HVDC link and then the FACT devices are also used for enhancing the power system performance. So these two are also used. Now, coming to the sector-wise survey, which I did, it was like much of the focus was on the systems. So we can see here 25% is regarding the systems. Then the optimization techniques, and then the controllers. So these three are the main aspects on which the AGC work has been conducted or is being dealt till now. And the other additional things are the energy storage or the HVDC link and the FACT devices. So they are also used. And now other technologies like electrical vehicles, they are also been incorporated. So many works have been done regarding that also. Now, as I have told that the different energy storages which I have discussed in one of my work. So it is like your all the six, the battery energy, flywheel, capacitive, superconducting, magnetic, then ultra capacitor and redox. So the transfer function for each of them was developed, and then taking that into consideration, considering each at a time, it was analyzed, and it was seen that after the analysis, it was seen that the performance for this redox flow is the best. So redox flow batteries as of now is considered to be the best. But yes, many researchers have worked with clubbing of the different energy storage. So redox flow with capacitive energy storage also people have done, or ultra capacitor. Ultra capacitor is also a new emerging thing. So combining them also, it is being done. But of all, the redox flow give a better performance, and not only that, considering the cost aspect also. So in my paper, so I have given it in reference to, so there I have done a cost analysis also for all the different energy storages. So with that also, it was highly evident that for redox flow battery, it also leads as a cheaper solution than others which are already present. So this is actually one of my work. So as I have told that I will be showing, or I will be discussing regarding the two scenarios, the conventional environment, which is also called as the regulated environment. It is the conventional one. So in my system, I have considered three areas. So area 1, area 2, area 3. And as I have told that I had modeled the geothermal power plant. So this was one of the main entity which was present in my system. And other than the rest of the system was having only thermal and the DSTS. So this drilling solar thermal plants was considered. So considering these three entities, I have designed the system of three areas, and under the conventional environment. And with this, I have done comparison for if with the presence of geothermal, how there is effect in the performance. So that was my entire work actually. So and it was found that the geothermal plant, it actually improves the responses to a great extent. So considering the geothermal plant as a base, I had also done work under the deregulated environment. So deregulated environment, as we have seen in the first, that deregulated environment, it has different GENCOs and the DISCOs, right? So I had considered like 6 DISCOs and then GENCOs. So, but the system which I have kept intact was that the thermal plant I have kept intact, and the GTDP or the geothermal power plant was kept intact. Other than that, I have included a gas plant. So this was an additional, and in this work I had also introduced or have introduced a delay. So the effect of this delay was also analyzed in this work. And in this very paper only, it was like the energy storage comparison was done. So now, as we have seen that different, whether it be in conventional environment or in deregulated environment, we have seen that different areas, they interact with each other. And then with this interaction, it is not only the physical connection over the tie lines, it is also one communication aspect is also important now. And here it is shown 3 systems, so 3 area system. So in these 3 areas, you can see there are different sources, wind, then small hydro is there, then electric vehicle is also considered, then energy storage, biomass also is there. So with this, we can see here, with the physical lines or the tie lines, they are interconnected, but with the communication aspect also, they are interconnected among them and with a central center. And this communication plays a important role, and we have seen that it's important. It's in the smart grid aspect also. So communication included with the microgrid can make that smart, right? So that is one of the evolving technologies, and work is being done in this sector. So here if we see, like the generation, from generation to distribution through the transmission system, we have the conventional generation also, or through the renewables, that is the wind and the solar also, we have the generation. And then with the substation, interaction between say 2 substations also, it is a duplex communication is being possible, right? And that is again handled by the system operator and the data centers. And with this, it is finally given to the distribution systems. But now what is happening, it is like this was a one-way thing, but now individual houses are trying to or generate its own load, and if that is sufficient enough for their own household, or it can be in the public sector also, or the factories also, we can say. So if it is sufficient for them, then they will utilize. If it is more than that, then they can just give it to the grid, give it back to the grid. And this concept comes with the virtual power plant. So now two-way thing is starting, and though it is not yet fully started in India, but yes, in the foreign countries it has started. And with this, the earlier it was like the consumers and the producers. So the producers and we were the consumers, but now the concept of prosumers have come. So this is a very important term, and it is like prosumers. That means it is producing also and it is consuming at the same time. So that prosumers play a very important role. And when we talk about the evolving technology, so here actually this was a car, but I don't think so. If I give five, yes. So this is the electric vehicle. So electric vehicle is again a evolving technology, and then the smart metering. So smart meters are coming up nowadays. Some of them has been installed also in some of the states of India itself. So in smart meter, what happens? It is like the conventional meter. When we talk about it, used to give us the readings at the end of the month, right? So on monthly basis, we used to get the readings, and then we used to get the bill. But with the smart meter, it is like in an hourly basis or in minutes, the data is being sent, and two-way communication is there. So the data is being sent, and when we say for each minute or second the data is being sent, so huge amount of data gets generated. And in order to handle that huge amount of data, it is very much important to have a robust system, and that there comes the role of the IoT. So this is how IoT gets related to this sector. Now, if I talk about IoT, so basically the basic thing in IoT, when I say about IoT, it is nothing but this architecture, which is given in a triangular manner. And there is also a significance of this triangle. This can be represented in this manner also, which I have shown above. So main structure is like, there will be the sensors which gather the information or the data. So the data is collected. So I will be wrong if I say information, because the data is the raw data. It is still not information, because it is not having it is not able to gather meaningful insights out of the data. So it is the raw data which the sensors are collecting. Now these sensors are connected to some devices. So these devices can be the embedded systems. So the embedded system along with the IDs, so this forms the devices. So these sensors are collecting the data, and they are feeding to the devices, and from that those data are sent to the clouds. But directly we cannot send it to the clouds. There should be a channel, and when we talk about channel, so the name or the word comes gateway. So we know what a gateway in general, general meaning of a gateway. So it allows the transfer of the data from one layer to the other. So from the device to the clouds, the data are sent through the gateway. And if this is represented in this manner, so the significance of this triangle is that there are numerous sensors. So for the smart meter only, if we talk about, it is not like only one smart meter will be there. Or in any sector, if we are using this IoT, there will be different sensors. For environment monitoring also, if we say, there will be like rain sensor, moisture sensor, then dust sensor. So many sensors will be there. So the amount here, it is very much more. So it is in the lowest structure. Then goes to the gateway, where mainly the communication occurs. And there are different communication protocols only also. And through this gateway, the data is being sent to the cloud. And this is where actually the data is being analyzed and the insights of that data is being gathered. So gathering the insights, it is done by different personnel. So we have data scientists or data analysts. But when I say data scientist, it is not same as the data analyst. So each of them has specific words. So they gather the insights of all the data that is being sent to them, and then finally the application, it comes, and it is how we are able to access the data. So right from the sensors to the application. So here different protocols are involved. So in terms of protocol, if we see, so here it is given as the link layer. So this link layer is nothing but the physical layer as well as the media access layer, it is called. So physically, how you get the data, right? So we know about the Ethernet. So Ethernet cables, this will be the wired communication. Then when we talk about wireless, it will be the Wi-Fi. Then this WiMAX is again a variant of this Wi-Fi only. And this LRPAN, it is the long range wireless personal area network. So like the LAN, it is for the wide range or long range, we go for this. And then the cellular, we know that the cellular technology is also evolved from 2G now coming to 5G, right? So this comes in the link layer, and from the link layer, we go to the network layer. In the network layer, we again have different protocols. So the basic ones is the IPv4 and the IPv6. But IPv4 was the initial one, which was present actually. And IPv4 stands for Internet Protocol version 4. And this uses 32 bits addressing, 32-bit addressing. It goes for 32-bit addressing. And so when we do 2 to the power 32, it creates around 4 billions of addresses. Now, this addresses, at the time when internet was actually evolved, it was thought that, okay, this will be sufficient enough, because then no one had idea that the number of devices that will be connecting to this network will increase in such a great rate. So this IPv4 was thought to be sufficient, but it was not so, and hence it gave rise to the IPv6. So it is Internet Protocol version 6, which goes for 128-bit addressing. So 2 to the power 128 if we do, so it is a very huge number. And with this, it is thought that this will be sufficient enough, and numerous number of devices can be connected to this. And 6LoWPAN, it is like for low power devices, we go for this 6LoWPAN, and it is why 6LoWPAN? It is IPv6 over low power wireless personal area network. So with IPv6 technology only for low power devices, this is evolved. So it is known as the 6LoWPAN. Then for the transport or the transmission, the protocols which are important are this TCP and UDP. And finally, for the application. So application, you all might be familiar with this one, HTTP. So it is nothing but the World Wide Web, right? So we know the addressing, we go for this. And not only this, so these are the different protocols which are there, and there are different communication models also. So all of them combine to maintain the whole communication aspect. So this communication aspect is also important, as we have seen in the previous thing. So with this, I'd like to just end my presentation. And these are some of the references. So this was the paper I was talking about. So here I have compared the different energy storage This, and it was done in a deregulated environment. So here you can see it is also mentioned deregulated environment, and comparison in a conventional environment was also done by me in this paper. So it was the comparative analysis of the energy storage in the conventional environment. So with this, I would like to just end my presentation, sir.